channel here at Beacon Legacy Group on our Leadership Across the Table series. Today we've got Michael Detweiler, the Cookeville weatherman himself, that's coming today, and I am really excited about the topics that we're going to jump into. Most of our viewers know who you are. They know you as the Cookeville weatherman. They know your Facebook channel. They know all of everything that you go live on. This week was a big one, right, with all the snow. What they don't know a lot about is probably the genesis story. I'm excited to find out. I know you have kind of a day job and things too. What sparked your interest just in general in weather and forecasting? What brought you to start this crazy venture?
So, it kind of goes back to my childhood. My mom's father loved the weather, and he had weather instruments in his house up in Cincinnati. And so I saw that when I was growing up. And so he said, hey, I'd like to take you for a visit to the National Weather Service office in Cincinnati, which ironically and strangely is at the Covington, Kentucky airport.
Wow.
It's not even in Cincinnati, but it's across the river.
Okay.
So anyway, so he took me there and we got to tour it, and then we actually got to go up in the air traffic control tower, which in this day and age, you'd never be allowed up there for security.
A civilian's not just going up into the air traffic control tower.
That's right. You just can't like walk over there and say, hey, I'd like to see everything.
See what you're doing
kind
here.
of thing, right? And so he did that, and my interest really peaked. I was maybe 9. Later on, they moved to Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and the National Hurricane Center is
down there in South
Miami, Florida. So he took me on a tour of that, and it was interesting. And so I really think that's where kind of the birth of me being interested in it happened. Fast forward to moving here when I was 13, we get 4 seasons of weather. I moved here from Picayune, Mississippi.
My wife's hometown, by the way.
No way.
Yep. She was born and raised in Picayune, Mississippi. Yep.
Hallelujah.
Small world.
It's a small world. So anyway, in Picayune, you have 2 seasons of weather.
Yes.
You have summer light and you have summer, right?
Yes.
And so you're down there close to the Gulf Coast. And that just blows my mind that your wife is born and raised there.
Yep.
I'll have to tell you my address after we get off the air, and she'll probably go, I know where that is.
Yeah, she went to elementary school there and finished up. They did move to Gulfport for her high school years, but from Picayune.
Well, tell her I went to Roseland Park.
Roseland Park Elementary. I'm wondering if that would be hers. We'll find out.
Wow.
But you know what's really interesting about this, about how your interest developed in this, it didn't happen in school. And I was just listening to actually the Joe Rogan Experience. They were talking about how children are having a hard time, why it's so boring, why people have a hard time, developing curiosity and the incentive structure. Right. One of your biggest passion happened organically. You were curious. You explored the National Weather Center. You went down there and explored the Hurricane Center in Miami. You explored all these different areas geographically that had different seasons, and they're all dramatically different. I'm assuming down South Florida to Tennessee.
Sure. And we lived in Ohio, and in 1974, when a tornado happened here that killed 10, a tornado happened up in Ohio in that same town the same day, which killed 33 people. And so very interesting. And then we lived in northern Indiana where we got a lot of snow. And then we moved to Maryland outside of D.C. We had a hurricane there when we lived there. So it seemed like there were all these interesting things
that were happening.
That happened weather-wise. It just, again, made me be interested in it. And then, we move here and we have 4 seasons. Every time hurricane season came about, my grandmother would mail me a tracking map. It's not like today where you have, the World Wide Web.
Hour by hour.
Right. Track it, minute by minute. It was, you got to wait for the 6 o'clock news, or you got to wait for the 10 o'clock news. There wasn't even news in the mornings unless it was a variety show to speak of.
Which is a big deal when it comes to weather development, I'm assuming.
It is. And so weather is timely all the time unless it's boring. You live in Scottsdale, which I'd love to live there and play golf. And, it never rains and everything. Weather there would be boring. If you were a weather forecaster in Arizona, it's going to be 100 degrees. The low will be about 80. and
For
it'll be
5 months.
sunny, right?
Yeah, for 4 or 5 months straight. So when do you end up back here in Cookeville? I guess as an adult.
So
you know?
We moved here when I was 13, and then I went to school from 8th grade through high school.
Okay.
Went to Tennessee Tech.
Okay.
Got in the business world, moved to Nashville like so many of us do, thinking the bigger city is the better place to be.
From an economic standpoint.
Right,
yeah.
right. And I made good money and everything else, but it wasn't home.
Yep.
Cookeville's home. You know, when I thought about, you know, raising a family and everything else, I thought of Cookeville.
Mm-hmm.
Nashville wasn't home. And so ended up back, but you know, all through that was interested in the weather. You know, the Weather Channel was birthed and kind of saw the very start of that. We had big personalities on Nashville television.
Yeah.
You know, Bill Hall at Channel 4.
Yeah.
There were others that, you know, were just big personalities that we connected with. And it wasn't a data-driven, management-heavy television newscast. It was somebody who made you smile and laugh.
They were really good, weren't they?
It was personality.
Yeah. It was entertainment
know?
To a degree. Like you
and
looked
again,
forward to watching it. Yeah.
Nothing to take away from any of the folks doing it today. But it's all the consultants and everything else telling them this is what you need to focus on. You know, and you need to go through news, weather, and sports in the first 15 minutes.
It's so dialed in to the minute, to the second now on news, right?
It is all the time. And so like you might get the weather forecast 3 times in that hour program. Because again, they want to just keep it moving.
And it's just kind of regurgitated.
It is.
So this is really interesting. Of course, you've got this background in, in business development and management that you're bringing in here. When did you come up with the genesis that we're seeing you were interested with some legacy news media, these strong personalities as a teenager and as an early adult? We're watching Channel 4 and these different anchors, and you thought, there's an opportunity here as social media and grassroots media grows. When did you come up with the idea that let's do this Cookeville Weather Guy thing?
So about 2007, there was a blog. I'm dating myself here. Blogs,
back when blogs
were the thing, right? Before social media. And NashvilleWX.com was a website that Channel 2 did. And each day, several times a day, their meteorologists would get on there and type out the forecast, put a picture in, share some photos that some people sent in from their digital cameras, not their
iPhones.
Not their phones, right. And so they would do that. And so I contacted one of the people there and said, I'd like to start something like this, but up here in the Upper Cumberland. They said, fantastic, because it's a little different forecast for the Upper Cumberland than it is for Nashville. 5-degree difference. We could have a little snow in Monterey compared to rain everywhere else. On and on and on.
Yeah.
So I really used what they had laid out as my basis for doing that. And so a CookevilleWeatherGuy.com, which is still in existence, even though I don't use it.
But you grabbed that domain in 2007-8, right?
And I pay for it every single year.
Gotcha.
Just to have it. And maybe we can break news here that I might go back to it in addition to social media. However, that grew quickly. And I put links that were relevant, records in Cookeville and all the different things.
Street closures, school, all the things.
Everything.
That was live. You were updating
just updating a lot. I'd be out doing my day job, which at that time was Lamar Outdoor Advertising, selling billboard advertising.
Okay.
And I might see a neat picture, say up in Jamestown, Tennessee, where, the ice is frozen on the rock face or whatever, and I'd try and get a cool picture of it and put it up there. Well, started getting some traction. So fast forward a few years later, we're getting into the 2012, 2013, and one of my people that I work with says, hey, have you heard of Facebook? I said, no, I haven't, and again, it might be a couple years off. But, But she said, it's really awesome. Right now it's limited to college students, and she had just gotten out of college. And so she said, but I'll send you an invite to it. And I said, all right. And of course, back then you told what you were doing.
Oh, yeah. The early Facebook days were great.
Is eating lunch, and that's all you'd post.
Yeah,
you wouldn't post a picture.
No.
None of that.
It was just statuses for the day.
Status. It really was.
Yes.
And so then you connected with friends. And early days didn't have many friends on there because I was older than the college age, and so so it really, when social media took off, that's when the transition happened from
Makes
blogs, because that's where everybody was going to. Because don't you want to put a message out where everybody is? If you're promoting your business,
sure, that's where we
you
are.
don't go to the desert to promote it, right?
You go to the oasis where everybody
is.
Go
to the oasis.
That's right.
Bingo. That's a fantastic point.
Yeah.
And so that's where I took it to, and it's kind of grown and taken on a life of its own from there.
So you went, and there was a lot of people that were actually that in those mid 2000s that were on blogging that I found out that was actually very successful. That's interesting. You started there, and then it organically went on to the next biggest platform, which was Facebook. So you've been really Facebook front and center from 2010 to 2013. You started.
Probably.
You got your profile.
I got my personal profile.
Okay.
I was posting there. I didn't start the Cookeville Weather Guy on there until probably 13 or 14, somewhere in there, and just kind of grew it slowly. I mean, I thought if I had 100 followers, I was just somebody cool, right?
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, if you'd have told me what it's grown into today, no.
When you think about today, you had 30, 40,000?
Probably.
That's like almost Nissan Stadium filled up every time you go live. If that many people are going to watch that, that's like a small stadium that is ingesting your content.
Right.
That is really powerful. And when you think about legacy news, and I'm not trying to disparage or do a hit job on mainstream news, but it from a business, from an economic standpoint, from just a usable standpoint, we are seeing a slow decay, for better, for worse. Yeah. And for me personally, we watch you or the Upper Cumberland Weather Guy, those two things. Right. I have not watched Channel 5 News, Channel 4 News, Fox News Weather since I was a child, literally probably 18, 19, 20 years old. And now I never would. Why? Number one, the content's better. You're extremely good, accurate, and trustworthy. And it's immediate and it's real time. And you get this feedback from everywhere where people are doing. What's going on in Allgood? What's going on in Rickman? What am I seeing on this specific road, on Lovelady Road where we live? But
I think the important thing is engaging with people. So I just don't throw a post out there, and I'm not the drama guy. Okay, I'm not Snowbird Bob or whatever his name is that says in 14 days this area is going to have 2 feet of snow.
Yeah, I mean, cataclysmic snow's coming.
This last system, he's putting out graphics saying that 10 days ahead of time, 2 feet of snow. I don't do that. Okay. In fact, I make fun sometimes of people who do that on posts just because it's like, please don't believe this.
And in fact, I think if I'm not mistaken, this week you kind of let it be known, hey, I'm going to touch base 48 hours ahead of time. We just don't know yet. Is that what came out?
I've done that.
And I remember my wife was saying, like, let's hang on and let's see what he posted the day before. This person's saying this, and that just lends to the credibility and the feedback.
We don't need to be canceling things 2 and 3 days out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
I'll,
I'm on a bunch of different other behind the scenes things that help make decision for business and education and other things. And so I'm very careful to give them the caveat. Here's what it looks like now, but it will change by the time it gets here. So let's not make a decision today for this day.
And that kind of lends itself to a greater discussion about when we've got such decentralized news and an individual, you do carry a lot of weight. And if you didn't handle it in that manner, a lot of people are going to make decisions based off of, and they are, and they do. And so I think everyone appreciates that. I want to go into a little bit, for our business viewers and also just the public in general. I'm always curious, how do we make sure that our local entrepreneurs, whether they are doing this as a kind of a side hustle or around their day job or as a passion and a hobby, which you're kind of hinting at, have you managed to monetize it all through advertising, through locally grassroots, or right now is it really just a passion that you're?
So a good friend of mine, and I can name him, Mike Austin. He owns Cardinal Computer. Back when I was doing the blog. He said, hey, if you ever want to sell a banner or something down the sides or whatever, I'll be the first guy to hand you money kind of thing. I really didn't want to do that. I wanted to do it as a public service.
Okay.
And so I kept it as that over and over and over again. Now, on the blog, you know, you had opportunity for AdSense to fill in things, and I allowed that. And hey, they'd send me $100 every 2 or 3 months. That's fine. You know, I'd take my wife out to eat.
Right.
With Facebook, again, I just transitioned to there because that's where people were. They contacted me a few years ago and chose me as a content creator to give money to. It's not, I mean, it pays the electric bill.
Right, but it's hey, you know, you're generating this number of eyeballs and content, and we reward our content creators, even if it is not a huge sum of money. It is a reward for doing a good job. Honestly,
I would still do it if it wasn't creating a single penny.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because especially after March of 2020, I feel a responsibility now to folks, you know, with whether it's severe weather, whether it's snowy weather, whether it's cold, whatever, to try and be as correct as possible and to be as calm as possible, because there's no sense in stirring people up for likes and hits and shares and all the different things, okay? I'm not trying to drive a bunch of comments by stirring people up. I just think it's wrong.
It is.
And I will tell you, the weather guys from the Upper Cumberland area, you mentioned Anthony at Upper Cumberland, we've all sat in a room together, and we're in agreement that there's no sense in doing this to get people stirred up.
And he's very calm too.
He is. And so, I mean, every time that something good happens to him, man, I'm cheering that guy on. I want him to be successful. I want him to be 10 times more successful than me. Because again, he and I are carrying the same message out.
Yes.
We're going to inform people. We're going to not stir them up and get them unnecessarily scared. I can't tell you how many private messages I get when we have a tornado warning that somebody will send me a very short message. I'm scared. What do I do? Okay, think about it.
Yeah, people are really,
I mean,
you have a lot of responsibility on the channel that you've created.
What do you do? Do you ignore that person that's scared, or do you send them a message back and say, well, hey, here's where it's at. What's your location? You know, and tell them you're fine. It's going to be okay. It's, you know, the warned area, let's use the last storm. The warned area was north of town.
Jackson County, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So if you lived in, say, Baxter or Bloomington Springs or Buffalo Valley, you're out of the warned area.
Yeah.
We shouldn't even be ringing the tornado sirens in those areas if it's not in that area.
There's no probability of it being there.
Correct.
So why
it's not
start
going
up
to like turn around and come back. It was all moving kind of in an east-northeasterly direction. So to me, it's we got to keep people calm.
That's a duty, and you both do a great job. And I would say most people are watching those channels collectively.
Right.
You know,
back and forth. People have windows open and they'll watch what my updates are and his. He's done the television studio thing, which I'm thrilled and happy for him, and I want him to do that. I'm kind of not that guy.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think you have a different a long-term goal and different interest in the short term too.
Yes.
So you don't really want to go that route.
Right.
Okay.
And so I want him to do it. I want him to do all the
see how it goes.
I love it. You know, I'm a fan of his, and like he just recently signed a deal with the Country Giant and some of their sister stations, and I'm the first guy to go, congratulations.
And so, you know, it is still an entrepreneurial journey you're on, though, even though you're going a different direction than him. And this is what's so cool when I talk to people like you that are creating this passion and all this, you know, fulfillment and value in your life, even if it's a different direction. Now, do you film in your home and things like that you've got kind of set up, Michael? Is that how? Yeah. And it's. I think that's what
it's kind of a all approach situation. So it's the smartphone device, you know, where you get all of your information.
Yeah.
It's the tablet. It's the desktop computer.
You've got all three mechanisms.
I've got things going. I've got the weather radio, which again, you'll get the National Weather Service warnings quickly with a weather radio. I can't come on here and not say, please go buy a weather radio. They're $30, and that gets you the warning the quickest. Sometimes we can't count on these guys, okay, on the phone. So we need a weather radio.
So
Everybody
you keep one live. That is your advice, by the way.
It is.
You can.
It is, and it's free. You know, the advice is free. The weather radio is a little more money.
$30.
$30, $40. One of it's something like that.
Michael, where do you see the future of news in this industry? Like, fast forward in a decade from now, where are we? Because it seems like when you've got people like you and Anthony, this is the way to go.
Right.
No oversight, really. We're out here. And because, I mean, in this community, there's no doubt anybody under 65, this is where they're getting their news on this. Sure. Where are we going?
So you would be surprised. My demographic skews about 3 women for every 1 man. My demographic skews about 50%, 55 and above.
Okay.
Okay. And
that's interesting.
That's kind of what and I see all that information from Facebook.
Yeah, they give you the data.
Of course, I've got Instagram data and others. And so I do a little Twitter/X that, you know, and share things from the National Weather Service. I create some of my content to personalize it, but I use a lot of the National Weather Service.
And then you put it in your own format.
I do. And the National Weather Service is, all they say is share it. We don't even need credit. We just want the information
Get it out there.
As far as where I see legacy media going, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the newspaper.
Gotcha.
I love to be able to hold the newspaper. I just wish there was a way to monetize it better.
That's the problem, right? We've got to figure out a way at the local level.
Right, because we need the local paper.
We need journalism at the local level.
We do. I think Stonecom does a great job with their 94.1 News Talk on their webpage and their radio for local news as well. I think the group over at the Country Giant, they plug into the locals as well.
They're doing a good job, yeah.
The challenge, again, is those advertising dollars. If you're taking a bunch of money and spending it in TikTok ads or Facebook ads or Instagram, then you're not spending it on
the Country Giant.
Or Stonecom or the newspaper or billboards or buying WSMV or WTVF ads. And so it's very interesting kind of where's the ad spend going. True. You got to go where the people are.
You do got to go where the people are, and I think that they're evolving, and I don't think all hope is lost. You know, our marketing is mainly on the larger media side, so we've had some discussions with some of those groups, and I think they are getting more innovative. They're trying to plug in and see what's because there is a lot of benefit.
There is
to investing in your local ecosystem, but they've got to do a better job messaging to the business community about why that is.
Right. And so, like, say, estate planning, for instance.
Yeah.
Typically, I guess your demographic on estate planning skews a little older. Yeah. We'd love for younger folks to do it, but they don't see the value of it at that age.
At that age, of course.
It's hard to
get the message.
Yeah. And so, like, the legacy media places are a good place to reach kind of that crowd. So
yeah, those things. How has this benefit? And maybe the answer is it's really not that much. But I'm curious if this venture, all the work you put in and just all the creativity, has that flowed into your regular job, into your family life, your marriage, and those things, and improved it in some intangible ways that you may have not foreseen?
I think my kids, when they're out at the high school, they kind of get tired of teachers saying, "Hey, what's your dad saying? Are we going to go to school tomorrow?" You know, those kind of things. Because I've got
they're in their high school years.
Yes. I've got a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old who will text me. You know, what do you think about school tomorrow, right? And so it definitely affects them like that. And of course, my wife and their nonprofit, you know, she needs to know, do we need to open later? Do I need to tell staff not to come in? Do we need to close? So there's those benefits as well. If we're traveling anywhere, they know to ask me, even though every single person, and I'll reach out and get this again, every single person should know what's going on. They carry one of these.
And they know where your channel is. If you're not on there,
Right,
Cookeville Weatherman.
Right. You go to Cookeville Weather Guy on Facebook, Instagram, but you have a weather app built into your device.
That's already on there when you get your iPhone.
It's already on here. There is no reason, if the temperature drops from the 60s down to the 20s, that you should be walking around Tennessee Tech in shorts and going, what happened? Look at your device. Anyway, sorry. I hope that doesn't hurt anybody's feelings.
It's on your weather app, people. Yes,
That's
it is.
right.
My last question, Michael, is, this has been a really interesting journey in innovation and creativity for you. What advice do you have for others that have, whether they're like Anthony and they want to do more of a journey to monetization or not?
Sure.
What advice do you have for young people today that really want to follow their passion and feel like they don't have the means or the ability to do it? They don't know where to start.
So I would say, number one, further your education. Number one, okay? And go into something that you're passionate about. Don't go into things that, well, Dad said I'd make a great accountant, okay? You'll get halfway through it and maybe hate it. And again, nothing against accounting. I picked it out because that's what I started in, okay, at Tennessee Tech. And so pursue what you're passionate about and learn as much as you can and learn from the people doing it. If somebody walked up to me, and I've had this happen over and over and over again, I go talk to high schoolers who want to pursue the meteorology field and how do they do it. And so I'll sit down with them and talk to them about it. There's a student right now at Western Kentucky University. She's doing fantastic. She did an internship here in town over at the Emergency Management Agency. Her mom had me go to her school and sit down with her and give her advice. And the advice I gave her was, pursue your passion. Go ask others who are doing that same job. Wouldn't you love it if somebody who's in 11th grade said, hey, I'd like to do what you're doing. Tell me what worked and what hasn't worked and what you wish that you'd have known in 11th grade. That's what I'd tell them.
Yeah, just to echo that, like people really, I have mentors, I have coaches. People need mentorship. Young people don't have it today. And if you want to find the answers, go to those. That's what you're saying, I think. And get it,
Right, go to those folks.
Well, this has been an amazing segment here on our channel. Thanks for coming in, Michael. And again, those that are not already following Cookeville Weather Guy, Instagram and Facebook, as a supplement to your weather app, go there, like and follow. You're going to get the most up-to-date, current, and the best news out there here in the Upper Cumberland area. Thanks for coming in, Michael.
Appreciate it.
Yep.